My name is Margaret Ann Windsor, and this is the 2nd of March, 2018. I'm putting this up this morning. I'm not going to go into anything else. It's early, and anyway, I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a dead twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I have to use that name. I married a Childers, so it's Peggy Ann Childers. Peggy and Carl were twins in Moulton, Alabama, born out of wedlock, and they were killed by their mother. Carl was killed at about 1 month, and oddly enough, Peggy wasn't killed until about a week to 2 weeks before they put me there, so it was all planned. JFK helped in it. He flew into the Embassy of England, into London, just like he owned it. His father had been made U.S. ambassador to England, 36 till they kicked him out in 46. So you got the Rockefellers' Jews, Roosevelt's Jews, and their family. Oh, it's hideous. The truth has not been told. I've told it, and I'm sure it goes to a greater degree, even than I know. And that's way enough to take it all down. It's going down anyway. It's the Illuminati that helped kidnap my dad. Or kidnap me, may as well have kidnapped my father and mother. My father's King Edward VIII, and he was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, school teacher from Madison, Wisconsin. Now then, he never married Wallace Simpson, obviously. He was forced to abdicate for character assassination. They had doubles running around pretending to be my father and doing every evil, bad act in the book, and one of them married Wallace Simpson. It wasn't my father. He was married to my mom. And in 37, he was supposed to have abdicated. That's what history still tells, so that tells you about your history. That King Edward VIII, and especially now the Meghan Markle and Harry, who may not even be a Windsor. Diana, he didn't belong to Diana, they say, and I believe it. And the real Harry may have been shot. That's the press reported it. I don't know, a year or so ago. Anyway, the point is, part of my family are into all this. They know about my kidnapping, my mom. Here's what I want to get to, though. Winston Churchill helped burn the Windsor Files. That's my birth in 41, and I was born Victoria II, Queen of England, the minute I took my first breath. So they had to kidnap me. They'd taken down my dad in 36. So then they had to get rid of me. It would have brought my father back into Buckingham Palace, into the monarchy. Well, he is still the King of England till I became queen, but then, hey, you got to be crowned, and you got these people to be evicted from my homes and my children's homes, and stop loving the criminals, because that's exactly who they are. But anyway, Winston Churchill burned the files, and Cosmos Lang was the head of the Church of England. I believe I'm correct there. His title, Archbishop of Canterbury. He knew about it in 36 and blatantly. My mom was Queen of England then. Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, married to my dad, remained married, I know, until, well, they always were, October of 86 when I came to Roanoke, and that's when they first reported Georgia. My aunt died. Well, they got my mom dying in 84, and she lived in Bel Air, in a home she did. But that was, I don't know how long she kept it, but she did own a home in Bel Air. And that 83 in October is when I was flown out to Larry Flint's, who lived on St. Cloud in Bel Air, in a political campaign, because one of the doctors I wrote about, Larry McDonald, had gone down in a KAL, had been shot down when it veered into Russian airspace. That's how you can take a plane down. You just, easy as pie, you just program the pilot to go into the ocean or the side of the mountain or the, and they took out, the Illuminati, 260 plus to get rid of Larry McDonald, which I have been indicated to me, I'll use it that way, that he wasn't even on the plane. But Richard Nixon, and I want you to get this name, Richard Nixon, the president, was taken off. He was on that flight, but he was taken off, and he didn't get on that flight that went down with all those people on it. Now, this is so bizarre and horrible. Al Haig, not Alexander Haig, Henry Kissinger, who held the position Secretary of State, Defense, he's the Illuminati, and he's certainly against me. He's on the Watergate tapes. I worked for the district attorney in Huntsville, Alabama, Madison County, DA, and they role-played the Watergate tapes. And Kissinger is on the other end of the phone that they tried to destroy the tapes, and I'm lying on a table in College Park, Georgia, at the trolley tracks where they used to cross the station there. Everybody knows it. There was a clinic, and it was still there in 1982. It was still there. Now then, Victor Gonzalez gets into the Parkland Hospital where Kennedy was taken when he was shot. He was interning. I'm going to fast forward to he ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. The man should have been put away. He's a child psychiatrist and adult psychiatrist. And I began writing a book about mind control. I'd worked for doctors and programming. And now then, that's what's happened. They're done in patterns. And this one alone, the Parkland in Florida shooting, the young man is programmed, and you have to stop the programming. It's like Dr. Phil said yesterday on his program, and I've said myself on all the videos, you got to stop the mind control and programming. They're not mentally ill. All you're doing is feeding it more and more to take away the guns and then put you in jail. And call it, well, it is jail. You just call it mentally ill, and you're going in. Anybody can go and take a warrant, have you taken in for evaluation. The problem is, by the time you get fed some psychotic drugs, you don't know what the heck's going on. You know you ain't getting out. So think about it. And Dr. Phil, I didn't mean to bring him in, but I was watching the program yesterday. He was treating a woman he was listening to a woman and family that they were trying to say she was having episodes of she was possessed. Well, I don't believe people are possessed and like they say. No, they may have bad traits, good and the bad, but not. But then but my point is, she had an episode. I was texting about that time I was watching it, and it's not funny, it's just ludicrous. She had an episode right there, and she's not putting on. Dr. Phil explained it, and they had done things to this woman like exorcism, and you can imagine what was done to her. Dr. Phil said the same thing I've said about mind control. You have to treat the problem and tell about it, first of all, that it's mind control. It's not mental illness, or you've done no good whatsoever. You've treated the wrong problem when they say it's mental illness. These are my words, but he was saying that about treating her for a non-existent thing of being possessed when she had a mental illness, and she does. She was hallucinating, and he explained it all. The good thing is she can be helped. But now here is the problem that last night, I'm just going to get to this. There are very few. The Illuminati controls the press, and that the media and the press, just like Trump said. They're not going to tell about me because the United States wears this hat that they're the good guy, and they do no wrong, and everybody else is a terrorist. Well, the way they take out the monarchy was they programmed the shooter to kill King Ferdinand and his wife Sophie. Then they took out Tsar Nicholas and his family. And this was Anastasia up here in Charlottesville, Virginia, that I've already put it up, what was done to her. She's my cousin, May of 84. By the way, I didn't know it till I was Googling yesterday. My mom and Georgia went to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville and actually lived there. Part of the O'Keeffe's did for a while, and in Williamsburg. Anyway, this is what I wanted to get to if you're still there. Anybody's listening to it. By the way, I'm going to mention him, Ron Patton, that's on my friend list. He won't be after this. I guess he'll unfriend me. He is a producer for Clyde Lewis, Ground Zero. One of the few people I thought was on the media telling the truth at night. He comes on at night, has a nightly program. I heard some things last night that I think it was last night or night before last. And I'll get to this because it connects with, I believe this was, last night on Coast to Coast. It used to be Art Bell program. And when I first came here, I'd been telling about program shooters back in '76, writing about them, and Larry Flint was shot while I was doing that. He was a program shooter, and later he flew me out to his home in Bel Air. I put that up and supported me in the campaign. Now back to Art Bell. He left because, quite frankly, he was telling the truth about some things, and it got bad. I hope this goes up enough time. So he turned it over Coast to Coast to, oh my goodness, George Norrie. Well, it's grown. We had grown then. Art Bell, I don't know if he would have told all that, mine story. But anyway, he was, I don't know how you say truthful if they really delete the truth. But anyway, Art Bell was good. And he would be the one that would tell it, I assume. But anyway, when I came here, people came up on the mountain where I lived, tried to, freezing and starving. And part of them were from Canada. They all had backpacks. And they told me that, and part of them were from Virginia. And they told me that they'd come up there for the reason they knew I was there. And they were trying to help. They told me to listen to Art Bell. This was way back in '94, and that he was telling some of the things I did about the Illuminati and all this, but they don't tell about my father. But anyway, last night I listened to Coast, and I had listened to Clyde Lewis the night before. And he was saying, in deleting the truth, they don't tell about my father and what happened to him. He wasn't even married to American spy Wallace Simpson. The United States took my father out because he's a good guy. He wouldn't take orders from the Illuminati. He wouldn't sell out his country. And it upsets me because I haven't had so much done to me and my children here. It's unbelievable. And it doesn't seem to be going to stop, okay? The whole thing is that the United States did not go in to save Great Britain. They went in to take everything British had. So they took out my father. Then they kidnapped me. They couldn't have me because it would have brought him back. And his brother, my Uncle George, that they made the movie about. And then Winston Churchill, The Darkest Hour. They're making him out to be a hero. Now, I'm going to say this. There were illegal treaties signed when they took out my dad and I was gone, or he would have been brought in. Well, he was brought back for a while till they kidnapped me, because he would have had my power of attorney and guardianship and made my decisions for me till I was old enough. So they had to get rid of my dad, my mom, me. Now, Elizabeth, all of them have always known it. So that tells you what kind of people they are. Now, the treaties that were signed are all illegal. So you can imagine what this says. especially about letting the United States come in there and take over the UK and position themselves. Because when they did, they didn't leave. They left underground military bases, and they also on military bases in all over the UK, and everything that belonged to the UK. In Australia, that's British, okay? Um, if somebody come in another country, if Great Britain did it, and say, "Hey, Alabama's ours," um, you can get the hell out. We're going to put our military there. Can you believe the uproar? So now then, it's been okay to cover this up and to just torture and lie. But anyway, they've got a Area 51 in Australia. You know, take New Zealand. Look at the UK and look at Britain. Well, the United States owns half the islands that were part of the British Commonwealth. And now I'm going to jump to this. Linda Moulton Howe. I thought she's a Pulitzer winner for telling the truth, supposedly journalist, and she is now on Coast to Coast with Nori once a month, I believe. And I always thought she tried to be truthful. I sent a lot of my things to her, thinking she might help about my dad and all this. Well, she hasn't. She never answered me. I know that she got it. And George Norrie, I sent to him on Gmailed him information you couldn't believe. And here's the way they respond now. And Clyde Lewis had part of this up, which shocked me, stating that JFK was the good guy, that he was not mafia, when, yes, he was. And they're talking about, I couldn't believe this when George Norrie was the one, Linda Moulton Howe said this, total twist, you wonder who got to them, or if they were always that way and just lied. Go ahead and say it. Linda and Nori were saying that they never mentioned my dad. Me, I don't exist. I'm deleted. Boo. Wallace Simpson and the lies still are told. Not one bit of truth that the United States invaded, kidnapped a monarch, go over and kill the others, like in Syria. You name it, Saddam Hussein, they got to be evil, or the United States couldn't go in and take them out, by God. Now, they were telling she was, and he was too, and Clyde Lewis mentioned taking up for JFK in the shootings, and these were the ones so dear to their heart. That's not what you can do, what your country can do for you. Excuse me if I can't spit the lies out that he did, JFK. But last night, I guess I'll get to this. Linda Moulton Howe, as bad as I was feeling here and what was going on last night, I listened to her and to Nori talking about how good JFK was, that he wasn't mafia. Well, the heck he was. And how Bobby Kennedy, his brother, who was shot by a program shooter too, the whole friggin' Kennedy clan's a bunch of cold-blooded killers, mafia, Illuminati, that's what they are. They kidnapped me, that's okay. Took my dad down. They didn't take him out with a bullet. They assassinated his character and kidnapped his daughter. Made his life a living hell because he was the honest one, is the honest one. Anyway, they were talking, went on to talk about the connection. They were supposed to be a letter, Linda Moulton Howe. Listen to this, Moulton. That's where they took me when they kidnapped me. That's her middle name, and she still uses in all these word games that are links.